The crystal towers of Nexus Prime stretched high into the purple sky. Inside the largest tower, 43 different alien species sat in a giant circle. Their voices filled the air as they talked about the small blue planet called Earth. Ambassador Veltar stood in the center of the room. His 4 eyes moved slowly across the crowd. Each eye was the size of a dinner plate, and they glowed with a cold blue light. His skin looked like wet leather, and when he smiled, rows of sharp teeth showed. "Fellow council members," Veltar said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Today we make history. Today we remove a threat before it becomes dangerous." The other aliens nodded. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others looked like giant insects with wings. A few were covered in thick fur and stood on 4 legs, but they all agreed on one thing. Earth had to be stopped. "The humans have only just learned to travel between planets," said a voice from the crowd. It came from Kesara, whose body was made of living stone. "They have built weapons that can destroy their own world many times over. In just 100 years, they went from riding animals to flying through space." "This is exactly why we must act now," Veltar replied. "Every other species in the galaxy took thousands of years to reach the stars. These humans did it in less time than it takes most of us to grow up. They are too fast, too violent, too dangerous on the other side of the galaxy. Dr. Hyen Park was working late in her laboratory on Earth. She was studying strange signals that came from deep space. Earth had only been talking to aliens for 3 months, and already she had learned to understand some of their languages. The computer in front of her started beeping loudly. New signals were coming in, stronger than any she had seen before. Hyen put on her headphones and started recording everything. The message was clear and simple. It was being sent to every communication device on Earth at the same time. A hologram appeared above her desk, showing Ambassador Veltar's frightening face. "People of Earth," the alien said, "the Galactic Council has made a decision. Your species is too dangerous to exist alongside peaceful civilizations. You have 30 days to surrender completely. If you do not, we will destroy your planet and everyone on it." Hyen's hands shook as she reached for her phone. She called Admiral Do-Yeon Kim, the head of Earth's defense force. The phone rang only. Once before he answered. "Admiral Kim here," he said. "Sir, this is Dr. Park. We have a problem. A very big problem." 20 minutes later, Admiral Kim was standing in Hyen's laboratory. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years in the military, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Play it again," he said. Hyen pressed a button, and Veltar's message filled the room once more. When it ended, Admiral Kim was quiet for a long time. "How many ships do they have?" he finally asked. "The Council controls over 3,000 worlds," Hyen said. "Each world has its own fleet. They have been building ships for thousands of years. And we have what? 200 ships that can barely reach Mars?" 187, Hyen said quietly. "But, sir, there's something else. I've been studying their communications for months. These aliens, they haven't fought a real war in over 3,000 years. Admiral Kim looked at her with interest. "What do you mean?" "Every conflict they mention in their records ended the same way. They show up with their big ships, and the other side surrenders. Immediately. They've never had to actually fight anyone who fought back." Captain Ji-Won Lee was coming back from humanity's first mission to another star system when the message reached her ship. She was 3 days away from Earth, and her crew was excited to come home. Then the communication officer told her what had happened. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency signal from Earth Command," said the officer. Ji-Won listened to the recording of Veltar's threat. Her face grew hard as she heard the words. She had spent 6 months exploring space beyond Earth's solar system. She had seen some of the Council's ships from far away. "Change course," she ordered. "Take us to the outer rim of our solar system. I want to see what's coming." "Captain, our orders are to return to Earth immediately," said her second-in-command. "My orders are to protect Earth," Ji-Won replied. "And I can't do that if I don't know what we're facing." Back on Earth, Minho Choi was studying every piece of information they had about the Council species. He was Earth's best military strategist, and his job was to find ways to win battles that seemed impossible. The aliens had sent detailed information about their fleets along with their threat. They wanted to scare Earth into giving up without a fight, but Minho saw something different when he looked at the data. "These ships are huge," he said to his team. "Some of them are 50 kilometers long, but look at their weapon placement." He pointed to pictures of the alien ships on his computer screen. "The weapons are all on the outside, pointing forward. These ships were built to look scary, not to fight other ships." "What about their numbers?" asked one of his officers. "Numbers don't matter if you can't use them right," Minho said. "They have thousands of ships, but they're all designed the same way. They've never had to think about tactics or strategy." Admiral Kim called a meeting of Earth's top leaders. Presidents, generals, and scientists came from every country. They met in a secret bunker deep underground. "The situation is simple," Admiral Kim said. "The Galactic Council has declared war on us. They want us to surrender in 30 days, or they will destroy Earth." "What are our chances?" asked the President of Korea. "If we fight them the way they expect us to fight, we have no chance at all," Admiral Kim replied. "But I don't think we should fight them the way they expect." Dr. Haeun Park stood up. "The Council species are not like us. They evolved on worlds where there was always enough food, water, and space for everyone. They've never had to compete for survival." "What does that mean for us?" asked the President of Brazil. Minho Choi answered this time. "It means they don't understand war the way we do. Earth has had thousands of wars. We've been fighting each other for millions of years. These aliens have been living in peace for thousands of years. So what do?" asked the President of the United States. Admiral Kim looked around the room. "We show them what real war looks like." Captain Ji-won Lee's ship reached the edge of the solar system just as the first Council ships arrived. She watched through her telescope as massive alien vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked like flying palaces made of crystal and metal. Lights covered their hulls in patterns that hurt to look at. Each ship was larger than any city on Earth, but Ji-won noticed something important. The ships moved slowly and in straight lines. They stayed far apart from each other as if they were afraid of crashing. These were not the movements of warships. These were the movements of parade floats. "Send a message to Earth Command," she told her communication officer. "Tell them the Council fleet has arrived, but these ships are not built for war. They're built for show." On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Veltar received reports that the first Council ships had reached Earth's solar system. He expected to hear that the humans had surrendered immediately. Instead, he heard something else. "Sir," said his aide, "the humans have gone completely silent. They are not responding to our ships at all." "What do you mean, silent?" Veltar asked. "No communications, sir. No attempts to surrender. No begging for mercy. Earth appears to have shut down all radio signals." Veltar felt confused. This had never happened before. Every other species had tried to negotiate or surrender when they saw the Council's ships. "Maybe they are too scared to speak," he said, but deep down, something worried him. The humans were not acting like any species he had conquered before. On Earth, Admiral Kim smiled as he read Captain Lee's report. The alien ships were exactly what he had hoped they would be: beautiful, impressive, and completely unprepared for real combat. "Send the order to all units," he said. "Operation Silent Thunder begins now." All across Earth, military bases went dark. Communication arrays shut down. Satellites stopped broadcasting. To anyone watching from space, it looked like the planet had simply given up. But in reality, Earth was getting ready for war. Dr. Narration had not slept in 3 days. Her laboratory was covered with papers, computer screens, and empty coffee cups. She was studying everything Earth knew about the alien species in the Galactic Council. "Computer, show me the biological data on the tidal Ani species," she said. Pictures appeared on her screen showing the aquatic aliens who controlled most of the Council's fleet. They looked like giant jellyfish with tentacles and multiple brains. According to the data, they lived for over 500 years and had never experienced physical pain. "Interesting," Nari said to herself. "A species that cannot feel pain would never develop aggressive behavior." She moved to the next file. The Kethmori were plant-like beings who got their energy directly from sunlight. They had no predators on their homeworld and reproduced by simply splitting in half when they got too large. "No competition for resources, no natural enemies," she wrote in her notes. The pattern was the same for every species she studied. The rock-like Terrans grew slowly over thousands of years and had never needed to fight for territory. The flying Aerith had unlimited space in their gas-giant atmosphere and shared everything equally. Nari realized something important. Every single species in the Galactic Council had evolved on worlds where survival was easy. They had never needed to become warriors. Meanwhile, Taiyang Park was working in Earth's biggest library, reading everything about the Council's military history. What he found was not really a military history at all. The last war the Council had fought was against a species called the Ythara. According to the records, the Ythara had been expanding too quickly and taking resources from other worlds. The Council had sent 10 ships to the Ythara homeworld. When the Ythara saw the massive alien vessels, they immediately broadcast a surrender message. The Council accepted their surrender, gave them new rules to follow, and left. The entire war had lasted less than 6 hours. "This is not war," Taiyang said to his assistant. "This is just bullying." He read more records. Every conflict was the same. The Council would show up with their big, beautiful ships. The other species would be so impressed and scared that they would give up without firing a single shot. They don't know how to fight, Taiyang realized. They only know how to scare people into giving up. High above Earth, Captain Hiram Kwan was preparing for the most dangerous mission of her life. She was going to send spy probes into Council space to learn everything about their ships and weapons. The probes were smaller than golf balls but packed with advanced sensors. They could become invisible to most scanning systems and record everything they saw. "Launch probe 1, Hiram ordered. A tiny object shot out from her ship and disappeared into space. It would travel to the Council fleet and hide among their ships, recording everything. One by one, 12 probes launched from Earth's hidden positions. They spread out across the solar system, each one targeting different parts of the alien fleet. Within hours, the data started coming back. Hiram could not believe what she was seeing. The Council ships were massive, but they were built like luxury hotels, not warships. They had huge windows, comfortable living spaces, and entertainment areas. The weapons were mounted on the outside of the ships, where they could be easily seen and destroyed. "These aren't military vessels," she told her crew. "They're cruise ships with guns attached." The probe data showed something even more interesting. The Council crews were small compared to the size of their ships. A vessel that could hold 50,000 people only had a crew of 500. Most of the space was used for art galleries, meditation chambers, and recreational facilities. "Send this data to Earth Command immediately," Hiram ordered. Back on Earth, Jinwoo, Nam was studying human military history. As a former Special Forces soldier, he understood warfare better than most people. But he was looking for patterns that could help them fight the Council. What he found changed everything. "Look at this," he said to his team, pointing to a chart on the wall. "World War I, humans learned to fight in trenches and use poison gas. World War II, we learned about air power and combined operations. Every war taught us something new." "What's your point?" asked his assistant. "My point is that humans get better at fighting every time we fight. We learn from our mistakes and improve our tactics. But the Council hasn't fought a real war in 3,000 years. They haven't learned anything." Jinwoo pulled up data about recent human conflicts. Even small wars between countries had produced new weapons, new strategies, and new ways of thinking about combat. "The Council thinks they're more advanced than us because they have bigger ships and older technology," he said. "But we're more advanced at the only thing that matters right now: war." He started writing a report for Admiral Kim. The title was simple: "Why the Council Will Lose." Dr. Nari Song made a discovery that excited her more than anything she had ever found. She was studying the brain scans of Council species when she noticed something strange. "Computer, compare the brain patterns of humans during combat stress with the brain patterns of Tidal Annie during their historical conflicts." The results were shocking. When humans faced danger, their brains produced chemicals that made them faster, stronger, and more focused. Their heart rate increased, their muscles tensed, and their thinking became sharp and clear. When the Tidal Annie faced conflict, their brains did the opposite. They became calm, slow, and peaceful. Their bodies actually became less capable of fighting when they were threatened. They literally cannot handle stress, Nari said out loud. Their brains are wired to avoid conflict, not win it. She tested this theory with data from other council species. The results were the same every time. These aliens had evolved to be peaceful, cooperative, and calm. When faced with real danger, their natural response was to give up or run away. Nari called Admiral Kim immediately. "Sir, I have important news about the enemy." "What did you find, Doctor?" "They can't fight, sir. Not physically. Their brains and bodies are designed for peace. When we start shooting back, they're going to panic." Admiral Kim was quiet for a moment. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. Every piece of biological data supports this conclusion. These aliens have never faced an enemy that actually fought back. When they do, their own biology will work against them." Taeyang Park made another important discovery while reading council records. He found detailed reports about how the council dealt with aggressive species in the past. The reports all said the same thing. Any species that showed signs of military development was immediately visited by council ships. The species would be given a choice: join the council and follow their peaceful ways, or be destroyed. But the reports also showed that no species had ever chosen to fight. They all gave up as soon as they saw the council's massive fleets. The council has never actually destroyed a planet, Taeyang realized. They've never had to. Everyone always surrenders. This meant the council's weapons had never been tested in real combat. They might look impressive, but nobody knew if they actually worked against a determined enemy. Captain Hiram Kwan received more data from her spy probes. This information was about the council's military training. What she found was almost funny. The council crews practiced battle drills that involved flying in perfect formations and firing their weapons at empty space. They never practiced fighting against enemy ships that shot back. Their training was more like a dance than preparation for war. Everything was planned in advance, with no room for changes or surprises. They're going to be completely lost when we start fighting dirty, Hiram told her crew. The final piece of intelligence came from a probe that had gotten inside one of the council ships. It recorded the aliens talking about their plans for Earth. "The humans will surrender as soon as they see our full fleet," said one alien. "Of course they will," replied another. "No species has ever been foolish enough to fight the council. This will be over in a few days. Then we can go back to our normal lives." When Admiral Kim received all the intelligence reports, he called another meeting of Earth's leaders. This time he had good news. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "I believe we can win this war." The room was silent. Everyone stared at him. "The enemy has thousands of ships and millions of soldiers," said the president of Russia. "How can we possibly win?" "Because they don't know how to use them," Admiral Kim replied. "They have the weapons of warriors but the minds of librarians. They've spent so long living in peace that they've forgotten how to fight." Minho Choi stood up with a thick folder of battle plans. "We have 30 days to get ready. That's enough. Time to turn this solar system into a trap." "What kind of trap?" asked the president of Japan. "The kind that will teach the galaxy why humans are the most dangerous species that ever lived." Outside, the council fleet was getting larger every day. More ships arrived from across the galaxy, forming a massive wall of metal and crystal around Earth. But the humans were not afraid anymore. They were getting ready to show the universe what real war looked like. Fleet Commander Zephon floated in his command chamber, surrounded by the warm, salty water that kept his jellyfish-like body alive. Through the transparent walls of his ship, he could see hundreds of council vessels spread across space like a metal constellation. The human planet hung before them, blue and white and silent. 3 weeks had passed since the council's ultimatum, and Earth had not sent a single message. No surrender, no plea for mercy, no attempt to negotiate. "Status report," Zephon commanded, his tentacles rippling through the water. "All ships in position, Commander," replied his aide, a young Tidalani named Kefsul. "We have 847 vessels from 31 different species. The humans cannot possibly resist such a force." Zephon felt uneasy. In his 200 years of life, he had participated in 12 conflicts with primitive species. Every single one had ended the same way: complete surrender before any shots were fired. "Have we detected any military movements on the planet?" he asked. "None, sir. All human communication has stopped. Their ships have returned to their home, world. It appears they are waiting for us to arrive. But something felt wrong to Zephon. He had studied the human records sent by the Council. These creatures had fought wars for their entire history. Why would such a violent species simply give up? On Earth, Soman Lim sat in an underground bunker filled with communication equipment. Her job was to monitor every signal coming from the alien fleet. She wore headphones and watched dozens of screens that showed alien conversations translated into Korean. "Admiral Kim," she said into her microphone, "the aliens are confused. They keep asking each other why we haven't surrendered yet. What else are they saying?" Admiral Kim's voice came through her speakers. "They're arguing about who gets to take control of Earth after we surrender. The plant aliens want to use our world to grow food. The rock aliens want to mine our mountains. They're already dividing up our planet like we don't exist." Admiral Kim was quiet for a moment. "Keep listening. I want to know everything they say." 3 days later, the Council fleet moved closer to Earth. They stopped just outside the range of Earth's known weapons. From this distance, their ships looked like bright stars in the night sky. Zephon sent a final message to Earth. "Humans of the third planet, you have ignored our generous offer of surrender. We will now demonstrate the power of the Galactic Council. Surrender immediately, or face complete destruction." Again, Earth remained silent. "Sir," said Kefsul, "perhaps the humans are too primitive to understand our message." "No," Zephon replied. "Their technology is more advanced than we expected. They understand us perfectly. They are choosing not to answer." This had never happened before. Zephon felt something he had rarely experienced in his long life: uncertainty. Commander. Kyungmin Yu was hidden inside an asteroid on the far side of Earth's solar system. Around her, dozens of humans worked at computer terminals and weapon controls. They had been waiting in this secret base for 3 weeks. "Target acquisition complete," reported one of her officers. "We have identified the command ships in the alien fleet." Kyungmin looked at her screens. The alien ships were beautiful, but they were arranged in perfect patterns that made targeting easy. They flew in straight lines and kept the same distance from each other. "These aliens really don't know how to fight," she said to herself. Her base was one of 50 hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Each base contained weapons that the aliens didn't know existed. For 20 years, humans had been secretly building mass drivers, electromagnetic cannons that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds. "Ma'am," said another officer, "we're receiving the attack signal from Earth Command." Kyungmin smiled. "All stations, prepare to fire. Target the ships with the most communication equipment. We want to cut off their ability to talk to each other." Meanwhile, Sunwoo Kim was strapping himself into the cockpit of the Seoul Lightning, a stealth fighter unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. The ship was painted black and covered with materials that absorbed radar signals. Around him, 50 other human pilots were doing the same thing. They would be the first wave of Earth's attack. "Remember," Sunwoo said into his radio, "we are not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We are trying to confuse them and make them panic. Hit the communication arrays, the sensor equipment, and the external weapons. Make them blind and deaf." The human ships launched from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They approached the alien fleet from different directions, using the shadows of planets and moons to stay hidden. Sunwoo's ship moved silently through space. The alien vessels ahead of him were so large that they blocked out the stars. But their size made them slow and difficult to maneuver. "All units, this is Earth Command," came Admiral Kim's voice over the radio. "The aliens think they are here to accept our surrender. Show them what real war looks like. Attack!" The first shots came from Kyungmin's mass drivers in the asteroid belt. Projectiles moving at 10% of light speed struck the alien fleet without warning. They punched through the beautiful crystal hulls of the Council ships like bullets. Through paper, on Zephon's command ship, alarms started ringing. His aide rushed to his side with a panicked expression. "Commander, we're under attack! Multiple hits on ships throughout the fleet!" "Attack?" Zephon could not understand. "From where? We see no enemy ships." "Unknown, sir. The projectiles came from the direction of the asteroid belt, but our sensors show nothing there. More projectiles struck the fleet. The weapons were not large enough to destroy the massive Council ships, but they tore through communication arrays and sensor equipment. Within minutes, dozens of ships could no longer talk to each other or see what was happening around them. Then Sun Wu's fighters arrived. The human ships were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but they moved like angry wasps around sleeping giants. They fired precisely at weak points in the alien ships, weapon mounts, engine exhausts, and sensor clusters. "Enemy fighters!" shouted Kefsul. "Dozens of them! They came out of nowhere!" Zephon tried to give orders to his fleet, but half his ships could no longer receive communications. The human attack had been planned perfectly to cause maximum confusion. "Return fire!" he commanded. "Destroy the human ships!" But the Council weapons were designed for destroying planets, not fighting small, fast targets. The massive energy beams moved slowly and could not track the darting human fighters. Sun Wu laughed as he flew between the alien ships. Their weapons were so large that they kept hitting each other when they tried to shoot at him. "This is easier than training exercises," he said into his radio. Yeji Han was sitting in a control room deep inside a mountain in Korea. In front of her was a screen showing the alien fleet. When she pressed a button, invisible particle beams shot from hidden installations all over Earth. The beams were focused on specific points on the alien ships. They heated the metal until it became soft, then cut through it like a knife through butter. Within seconds, sections of alien ships began breaking away and floating off into space. "Target the ships that are trying to reorganize their formation," she ordered her team. "Don't let them get back into communication with each other." The particle beams struck again and again. Each shot was perfectly aimed to cause the maximum amount of damage while using the minimum amount of energy. On his command ship, Zephon watched in horror as his beautiful fleet fell apart around him. Ships that had taken centuries to build were being torn apart by weapons he couldn't even see. "How are they doing this?" he asked Kefsul. "I don't know, sir. Our sensors can't locate the source of their weapons. The humans are attacking us from every direction at once. Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we need reinforcements immediately." "Sir, our long-range communications are down. The humans targeted them first." For the first time in his life, Zephon felt fear. These humans were not fighting like any species he had ever encountered. They weren't trying to have an honorable battle or prove their strength. They were fighting like predators, hunting prey. Captain Ji-Won Lee watched the battle from her hidden position at the edge of the solar system. Her ship's sensors recorded everything that happened. The data would be sent back to Earth to help plan the next phase of the attack. "The alien fleet is breaking apart," she reported to Admiral Kim. "They're trying to retreat, but they can't organize their ships without communications." "Excellent," Admiral Kim replied. "Begin Phase 2 of the operation." Phase 2 involved something the aliens had never seen before: human ships that could become invisible. Dozens of stealth destroyers appeared throughout the alien fleet. They had been hidden there for days, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. The aliens had flown right past them without knowing they were there. The destroyers opened fire at point-blank range. Their weapons were smaller than the alien guns, but they were fast and accurate. They targeted the engines of the Council ships, leaving them unable to move or escape. Zephon's ship shook as something hit it from behind. He turned to see a human destroyer floating just a few hundred meters away. How had it gotten so close without being detected? "All ships, emergency retreat," he commanded. "Fall back to minimum safe distance." But many of his ships could not receive the order. Others were too damaged to move. The perfect Council fleet was becoming a scattered collection of broken vessels. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their history. On Nexus Prime, representatives from 43 species gathered in their crystal chamber, but this time fear filled the air instead of confidence. Ambassador Veltar stood before a giant screen showing the destroyed remains of their once mighty fleet. Nearly half of the Council's ships were either destroyed or too damaged to fight. The humans had done in one day what no species had done in 3,000 years. They had defeated the Council's military. "How is this possible?" demanded Kesara, her stone body trembling with rage. "These humans are primitives. They have no right to resist us." "Clearly, we underestimated them," Veltar replied, though his voice shook as he spoke. "Their weapons are more advanced than our intelligence," suggested. High Counselor Mordak, eldest of the gas-based ethereals, floated above the assembly. His voice echoed like wind through caves. "We have one option remaining. Deploy the World Render." The chamber fell silent. The World Render was the Council's ultimate weapon, a ship so massive it could crack planets in half. It had only been used twice in galactic history, both times to destroy dead worlds as demonstrations of power. The World Render was built to destroy uninhabited planets, protested Yith-El of the insect-like hive tar. Using it against a living world would make us no better than the violent primitives we claim to fight. The humans have forced our hand, Veltar said. They refuse to accept the natural order. If we allow Earth to survive, other species might think they can resist us too. On Earth, Dr. Yunjin Cho had not left her laboratory in 5 days. She was working on humanity's most secret project, a weapon that could fight back against the Council's ultimate threat. The computers around her showed equations that would have been impossible to solve just months ago. But humanity had learned much from studying captured alien technology. They had discovered that the Council's ships used gravitational fields to travel faster than light. If we can destabilize those fields, Yunjin said to her assistant, we can create a weapon that turns their own technology against them. How does it work? Asked the assistant. Imagine dropping a stone into a calm pond, Yunjin explained. The ripples spread out in all directions. Now imagine dropping a very special stone, one that creates ripples moving backward through time. Those ripples would tear apart anything they touched. The weapon she was building would create artificial black holes that lasted for only a few seconds. But in those seconds, they would consume anything nearby. The problem is delivery, she continued. We need to get the weapon close enough to their biggest ship to activate it. That means someone has to fly directly into the enemy fleet. Captain Dongyun Seo was exactly the kind of person who volunteered for impossible missions. He had been a test pilot before the war started, and he understood that sometimes heroes had to make difficult choices. I'll do it, he told Admiral Kim without hesitation. Just tell me what I need to do. The mission is simple in theory, Admiral Kim explained. Dr. Cho's team has built a gravitational weapon. You need to fly it into the center of the alien superweapon and activate it. And then you won't be coming home. Dongyun nodded slowly. He had known this day might come. When do I leave? As soon as the alien weapon arrives. Our sensors show a massive ship approaching from deep space. It's larger than anything we've seen before. The World Render dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. The ship was so enormous that it had its own gravitational field. Moons could have fit inside its cargo bays. Captain Hyerim Kwan watched through her telescope as the monster ship approached. Her reconnaissance vessel was hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons, far from the main battle area. Earth Command, this is Captain Kwan, she said into her radio. The super weapon has arrived. Estimated length, 500 kilometers. Width, 200 kilometers. I count over 10,000 weapon ports on the visible side alone. Copy that, Captain. Begin your attack run. Attack run? Hyerim stared at her radio. Sir, with respect, this ship is larger than some of Earth's continents. How am I supposed to attack it? You're not attacking the ship, Captain. You're clearing a path for Captain Seo. The World Render moved slowly toward Earth, its weapons charging with energy that made space itself glow. Inside the massive vessel, Council technicians prepared to crack the human planet like an egg. But as the superweapon approached, something unexpected happened. Small explosions began appearing along its hull. Hyerim's stealth ship darted around the World Render like a mosquito attacking a whale. Her weapons couldn't seriously damage such a massive target, but they could destroy the external sensors and communication arrays. This is insane, she said to her crew. But if it helps Captain Seo get through, then it's worth it. The World Render's defenders tried to swat the tiny human ship, but their weapons were designed for destroying planets, not fighting fast-moving targets. Every shot they fired missed by kilometers. Meanwhile, Captain Dongyun Seo was making his final preparations. His ship looked like an ordinary transport vessel, but hidden in its cargo bay was Dr. Yunjin Cho's gravitational weapon. All systems green, he reported to Admiral Kim. Artificial black hole generator is armed and ready. Remember, you need to get within 1 kilometer of their main reactor, Admiral Kim said. The weapon won't work unless it's close enough to destabilize their power core. Understood. It's been an honor serving with you, Admiral. The honor is ours, Captain. Good luck. Dongyun's ship launched from a hidden base on the dark side of Earth's moon. He flew directly toward the World Render, broadcasting a fake surrender message. Council vessel, This is Captain SEO of the Earth transport ship Busan Trader. We are carrying representatives who wish to negotiate Earth's surrender, requesting permission to dock. Inside the World Render, Council officers debated whether to allow the human ship to approach. Some wanted to destroy it immediately, but others were curious about humanity's surrender offer. Let them dock, ordered Ship Commander Velthok, but scan them thoroughly for weapons. The scanners showed exactly what Dong-hyun wanted them to see: a transport ship with no military equipment and a small crew of frightened humans. The gravitational weapon was hidden so well that it looked like ordinary cargo containers. As Dong-hyun's ship approached the docking bay, he marveled at the size of the Council weapon. The docking bay alone was larger than most Earth cities. Thousands of smaller ships could fit inside the World Render's various compartments. Beginning final approach, he reported to Earth. Weapon activation in 60 seconds. But something went wrong. The Council officers became suspicious at the last moment. They had detected energy readings from Dong-hyun's cargo bay that didn't match their scans. "Human vessel, halt immediately," came the order from the World Render. "You are carrying unauthorized equipment." Energy beams shot from the superweapon, trying to disable Dong-hyun's ship. He threw his vessel into a wild spiral, dodging the massive weapons while racing toward the docking bay. 30 seconds to activation, he called to Earth. The World Renders. Defenses opened fire with everything they had. The space around Dong-hyun's ship filled with deadly energy, but he kept flying. His ship's hull began to melt from the heat of near misses. 10 seconds! Dong-hyun's ship crashed through the World Render's docking bay doors. Emergency force fields tried to stop him, but his ship's momentum carried him deep into the alien vessel's interior. Activating weapon now! Dr. Yoonjin Cho's creation came to life in the heart of the World Render. For a brief moment, a tiny black hole existed where Dong-hyun's ship had been. The gravitational forces tore through the superweapon's hull like tissue paper. The World Render shook as its own reactor destabilized. Chain reactions began spreading through its massive structure. In less than a minute, the ship that could destroy planets was tearing itself apart. The explosion was visible from Earth. Where the World Render had been, there was now only expanding gas and debris. The blast was so powerful that it destroyed several Council ships that had been too close to the superweapon. Fleet Commander Zephon watched in shock as humanity's ultimate threat disappeared in a ball of fire. "How?" he whispered to himself. "How did they destroy the World Render?" "Sir," reported Kefsul, "we're receiving a message from the human planet." Admiral Kim's voice filled the communication channels of every surviving Council ship. "Attention! Galactic Council Fleet, you have seen what happens when you threaten our world with destruction. We do not wish to kill you, but we will defend ourselves with any means necessary. Surrender immediately and leave our solar system, or we will destroy every ship in your fleet. You have 1 hour to decide." Zephon looked around at what remained of his once mighty armada. Half his ships were damaged or destroyed. His crews were demoralized and frightened. The humans had just done the impossible. They had destroyed the Council's most powerful weapon. For the first time in Council history, they were losing a war. But the humans weren't finished. Captain Yuna Oh commanded the first battleship Earth, had built using alien technology. The Incheon Vengeance was smaller than Council vessels, but faster and deadlier than anything the aliens had seen. "Admiral Kim, this is Captain Oh," she reported. "Request permission to begin offensive operations." The alarm bells on Nexus Prime had never rung before. For 3,000 years, the capital world of the Galactic Council had existed in perfect peace, but now, human warships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel just outside the planet's defense grid. Captain Yuna Oh stood on the bridge of the Incheon Vengeance, watching as the beautiful crystal cities of Nexus Prime grew larger on her screen. Around her, 5 other Earth battleships prepared for the impossible, an attack on the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. "All ships, this is Captain O," she said into her radio. "Remember, we are not here to destroy their cities or kill civilians. We are here to end this war by showing them they cannot hide behind their defenses." The Nexus Prime defense fleet rushed to intercept the human ships. There were over 200 Council vessels protecting the capital, each one larger and more heavily armed than the Earth battleships. But Commander Sung-Woo Lee, now leading the human Fleet, after Admiral Kim had promoted him, had studied the alien tactics for months. He knew exactly how they would respond. "They're forming up in their standard defensive pattern," he reported to his captains. "Just like we predicted, all ships execute Plan Delta." The human ships split apart and attacked from 6 different directions at once. The Council defenders had trained for centuries to fight enemies that attacked in straight lines and orderly formations. They had no idea how to handle enemies that fought like a pack of wolves. The Inchin Vengeance dived through the alien formation, its weapons targeting, communication arrays, and sensor equipment. Within minutes, the organized defense became a confused mass of ships that couldn't talk to each other. On the planet below, Ambassador Veltar watched in horror as human ships tore through defenses that had never been tested. "How are they here?" he demanded. "Our fleet around Earth was supposed to stop them." "Sir," reported his aide, "we've lost contact with Fleet Commander Zephon. The last message said the World Render had been destroyed." "Destroyed? Impossible. Nothing can destroy the World Render!" But the evidence was in front of him. Human ships were fighting in orbit around Nexus Prime, and they were winning. Captain O's voice came over the planet's communication system. "People of Nexus Prime, this is Captain Yuna O of the Earth Defense Force. We are not here to conquer your world or harm your civilians. We are here to end a war that your leaders started. We demand an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of all Council forces from Earth's solar system. We also demand that the Galactic Council be dissolved and replaced with a new government that treats all species as equals." The crystal towers of Nexus Prime fell silent. No one had ever made demands of the Galactic Council before. Ambassador Myung Kim had been Earth's first diplomat to make contact with alien species. Now she found herself walking through the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, flanked by human marines carrying weapons that could cut through alien armor, like paper. The council representatives sat in their floating chairs, looking at her with fear and confusion. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia, but now they were prisoners in their own capital. "Honored council members," Myung said, her voice echoing through the vast chamber, "my name is Ambassador Myung Kim, representing the planet, Earth, and the human species. I am here to discuss terms for ending this war." "Terms?" Veltar sputtered. "You are primitives. You have no right to make demands of us." Myung smiled calmly. "Ambassador Veltar, your fleet around Earth has been defeated. Your ultimate weapon has been destroyed. Your capital world is under our control. I think we have every right to make demands." She gestured to a large screen that showed the wreckage of the Council fleet floating in space around Earth. "Your species have lived in peace for so long that you forgot what war really means. We humans have never forgotten." High Counselor Mordak floated forward, his gaseous form shimmering with anger. "What do you want from us?" "First, the immediate withdrawal of all Council forces from Earth's solar system. Second, the dissolution of the current Galactic Council, and the establishment of a new Galactic Federation where all species have equal representation." "And third?" asked Kessera, her stone face showing cracks of stress. "Third, Earth will have a permanent seat on the new Federation's Security Council, with the authority to prevent any single species from dominating others the way you have done." The council members looked at each other in shock. They had expected to be destroyed or enslaved, not offered a chance to rebuild their government. Meanwhile, Hoon Park was working in what had been the Council's central command center. As Earth's new director of galactic affairs, his job was to help create a new government that would prevent future wars. The problem with the old council, he explained to his staff, was that it was run by species who had never faced real challenges. They made decisions based on theory, not experience. He pulled up star charts showing the territories controlled by different alien species. From now on, any species that wants to join the Federation must prove they can contribute to galactic security, not just galactic luxury. "What about the species that resist the new system?" asked one of his assistants. "We'll deal with them the same way we dealt with the Council," Hoon replied. "Humans are very good at convincing people to see reason." On Earth, Dr. Sarang Yoon was meeting with representatives from some of the smaller Council species. These aliens had been dominated by the more powerful species for centuries, and they were eager to join a new system that promised equality. The Velktar have always been forced to provide minerals for the Council's ships, explained one representative, a small furry creature with large eyes. Under the new Federation, would we be free to trade with other species? Absolutely, Sarang replied. The Federation will be based on voluntary cooperation, not forced tribute. Every species will have the right to choose their own path. Word of the new system spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that had been too weak to resist the Council began sending messages of support to Earth. Others, particularly the ones who had benefited from the old system, tried to organize resistance. But resistance to Earth was becoming impossible. Human military technology had advanced rapidly using captured alien equipment, and human tactics were proving superior to anything the galaxy had seen before. More importantly, humans understood something that the Council had never learned: how to make allies instead of subjects. Captain Jae-hyun Kang led Earth's Psychological Warfare Division. His job was to broadcast messages throughout Council space, explaining why the old system had failed. "Citizens of the galaxy," his voice said over millions of communication devices, "the Galactic Council told you they were protecting you from dangerous species like humanity. But ask yourself, who was really the danger? The Council controlled your trade, your communications, your right to travel between stars. They kept you weak and dependent while they lived in luxury. Humans offer you something different, the chance to be strong and free." The broadcasts were working. Across the galaxy, species began questioning their loyalty to the Council. Some planets declared independence, others requested protection from Earth's growing fleet. Admiral Do-Yun Kim stood in his command center on Earth, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. The war that had started with humanity facing impossible odds was ending with Earth as the dominant power in known space. "Sir," reported one of his officers, "we're receiving surrender messages from the remaining Council fleets. They're requesting permission to return to their home worlds." "Granted," Admiral Kim said, "but make sure they understand the new rules. Any species that threatens another will answer to the Federation." "What about the Council leadership?" "They'll be tried for their crimes, but they won't be executed. We're not conquerors, we're liberators." 6 months later, the new Galactic Federation held its first assembly on Earth. Representatives from over 100 species gathered in New York, where a massive space elevator connected the planet to an orbital station. Ambassador Myung Kim looked out at the diverse crowd of aliens and humans working together. It was nothing like the old Council chamber, where fear and intimidation had ruled. The question the Galactic Council asked, she said in her opening speech, was whether they had a chance against Earth. They learned the answer was no, but they asked the wrong question. The right question was whether any species in the galaxy had a chance against a race that had spent 10,000 years learning to fight while dreaming of peace among the stars. Today, we begin a new era, an era where strength serves justice, where diversity creates unity, and where the lessons of war teach us the value of peace. In the back of the assembly hall, Admiral Kim watched with satisfaction. The galaxy was safe now, protected by humans who understood both war and peace. Earth's children would grow up knowing that their world was strong enough to defend itself and wise enough to defend others. The Galactic Council had started a war they couldn't win, but from their defeat, a better galaxy had been born. And if any other species ever made the mistake of threatening Earth again, they would learn the same lesson the Council had learned. Humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because they loved war, but because they were so very good at it. The stars belonged to everyone now, but Earth would make sure they stayed free.